when the pain of your current reality becomes greater than your fear of change, that's when we change. And that quote always stuck in my head. And for a long time I sort of understood it but done nothing about it. And this sort of video is about why we have to turn up every day. And and that's why I wanted to make this channel, to sort of feed that creativity, to see where, being by yourself and doing your own creativity takes you. Because the love of creating and expressing ideas is something that I'm very passionate about. Improve myself, learning mistakes, learning, how to improve myself. For the last 24 years I've been trying to climb the ladder, and I feel like I've just got to the point now where that I can't climb anymore. And you get frustrated because you can't express your ideas, or your ideas are not understood the same way you understand them and want to sort of build something. And sometimes you just got to cut yourself loose to whatever you do as work or whatever, and go off and do your own thing. But building again, I've done 24 years of chefing, catering, hospitality, and I feel those years are hopefully slowly coming to an end if I can make this work. But starting over, I don't feel, it's not scary. It's just, you're building, let's do it for another 24 years, but on this side, making videos, being creative, expressing yourself, that doesn't scare me. That gets me excited. That's what makes me want to get out of bed in the morning. And I think you just have to find that spark again, because I think just doing day-to-day jobs and your career and stuff after a certain amount of a long periods of time can get a bit you can get a bit sort of stagnant and sort of uninspired. And then what you're doing? You're just doing a job, and to me that's just just sends me crazy. I'm always thinking, my brain's always going, like, how can we make this better? How can we make that better? What can we do? Let's start this idea. What about this idea? I can't just be someone who just goes into a job like a robot and goes in and does a job. That's it. That's not me. I've got a few notes here, so that's why I'm looking down, because I just want to get this out sort of clearly, just some bullet points. But then the feeling of doing YouTube can be quite discouraging. You make these videos, you script it all out, you make your bullet points, you do your B-roll, you make, my other videos have been fancy edits, but not fancy to professional level, to my sort of level I can do it at. But and you upload these videos and get no views. But that's part of the 24 years of having to go along, and create something new. I think, and you have to get past, because when I first started my chefing career, I didn't write menus and all the dishes what I made were perfect. Bit by bit over those 24 years I got better at cooking, and the same with YouTube. Like, you have to just start, and and it is frustrating because because I'm a bit older, I have a family, I need to make money, and obviously ideal dream would quit the job, make videos, make enough money just to pay my bills, just so I can keep that at a level, and then then advance that with making better videos and making more money, and just being more creatively satisfied, and then it just carries on. That's the dream. But we have to start somewhere, and obviously, you know, when I first started this, like probably about a year ago, it's been, you know, I say on and off, as sort of, I do it for a good amount of time and then I pause because I get discouraged because I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. But again, that whole year has just been planning, maybe for now, maybe this year's planning for next year, I don't know. But obviously you have to be in it to want to succeed. This is not a quick fix thing like YouTube. This is not just making a video, upload it and you get millions of views. No, you have to build your community, you know, learn from your mistakes. Hopefully you get feedback. So if you're watching this, comment below, tell me what's wrong with it. You know, can I make anything better? Do I ramble too much? Whatever, I don't know. You know, because obviously, you know, put a lot of our time and effort into like editing and filming, and you know, I don't have a lot of time in the day to film, so obviously I try and do it on the way to work, on the way back from work. I stop off for 20 minutes, 10 minutes sometimes, just to record a video, just to sort of keep the momentum going and the consistency, hopefully. But you just got to make sure there's enough what do you call it, you know, body to the, like, value to the video for people to watch. But over the last year I've learned a lot. You know, I've been chasing this retention editing format and like quick cuts and got to do this, got to do that, and I'm like, well, I'm not that person. Don't get me wrong, I love editing and learning it is great, but you know, I'm not skilled enough. Like, my brain and thought process is way ahead of my actual ability, so I've had to draw it back. So that's why I'm trying to do these talking head videos, some with b-roll, some straight up, no edits, and just see where we're going. But we have to test out these little things in our head, and this is all the creativity goes through my head. Like, well, what about if I just do a video, just talk and upload it, see what happens? Will people find it interesting? I don't know. But we have to, you know, and that's why we have to show up. And because it's like I said at the start, the pain of our current reality, like the pain of me going to work every day doing a job that I don't find interesting anymore. I want to do something else. Like, I have to put time and effort into this to then make this work. And I've learned a lot for myself, and this is probably one of the only things in my life, apart from my career, which I've stuck at. You know, you try diet, you don't stick at that. You try going to gym, you don't stick at that. You know, and maybe this is a start. Like, you sort this problem out, and then the other ones will follow, because you want to keep growing as a human, just sort of a general person. Like, I'm a father of 2, married. You know, I want to see my kids grow up, and they see me grow up, and you know, evolve, and then, you know, and they have good standards of what I've set. And then if they want to do something, they want to change, they have no reason why they can't do that, because they can see their dad doing it. So, you know, obviously that's probably parent 101, sort of be the person that you want your children to grow up to be, or be like-ish, in a way. But then I think you relax a little bit when you don't make it too complicated. When it's too complicated, like I've made it complicated, obviously, like I say, with this retention editing, too many cameras, trying to do different angles, and then I've got all this footage at different angles, and I've got no experience of editing at all. And I'm just like, this is just so overwhelming to try and make this right. And then you just make this edit and you're like, well, that'll do. Chuck some text over it and it gets no views. And you're just like, I've spent 6 hours doing that. And you're like, you need to start from the bottom. Again, it sort of goes back to my job, you know, making a dish. You know, when I first started, you know, you make a simple pasta dish with flavour, a little bit of seasoning, then you can go up as you get old, or go up experience and get better and practice. Then you can go into, the trio of lambs and the fondant potatoes and the red wine sauces of the world. You learn that, and that's because you've gradually gone up and not just gone from 1 to 10 in a matter of a couple of months. Like, I was very naive at the start, but you just have to take your time and try and enjoy the process of it. It's not don't focus on the end result because you want the money and the success. You have to learn to love the process. Like, I learned to love the process of chefing. People hated it because it was hard work, long hours, and you're always at work. You're never at home. But I loved that because I was passionate about the job and the creativity it gave me. But now it's time to change. And I want to do something, obviously like this, and talk about creativity on YouTube and how much have a positive impact it does on your mind and everything else in your life. If you have that sorted, I think you're happy with everything else. Once you're if you're a creative person, some people are not creative. But if you're a creative person and you're not being creative, I think it just feels like you're like claustrophobic. You just need to, somehow express yourself in some way. And cooking was for a good amount of time for me, and now I have to go to the next thing. Before, when I was younger, before cooking, it was like drawing and, graffiti and stuff like that. And then it was cooking on a plate. That was my creative bit. Now it's like photography, videography, YouTube. And I have to explore it, because if I don't, I'll regret it. And life's too short. And over time, over the last year, I found my style, which I quite like, because I've gone through different styles and of what I think I should do, because I'm watching YouTube as a whole, like consume stuff so you can learn. But then you sort of think, oh, I quite like that, I'll do that. But that's not your style. You're taking someone else's style and trying to recreate it into a video, which, it goes back to sort of going to basics, like learn to create a simple video first, then add another layer, add another layer, add another layer, and then hopefully that becomes 4 or 5 years along the way, and then you're good at making videos. Obviously you still got to learn this, like me learning this hook. Don't ramble too much. I have a problem with, because I ramble too much. But if you're getting value out of this video, like, show me a bit of love, drop a like, hit subscribe. But it's going to be an interesting journey, and it's going to be quite a casual one. We could talk about obviously creativity, and I love tech. We'll go into tech, how I use tech in like to be creative, and when you find your style, you get inspired, because you think, because that gets you excited a little bit. You don't feel like you're copying from somebody, which is fine to do. You can copy, but you just don't rip off a whole person's way of doing something, because I kept looking at all these tech channels. So I'll do a tech channel, we'll do reviews and stuff, which is exciting, don't get me wrong. I like doing the odd review, but I don't want to do reviews all the time. Plus, when you're small, it's quite hard to do, because you need tech to come in to review. And plus, but I knew that wasn't me. Like, it wasn't just about reviewing tech. It had to be more than that. Like, eventually I'd like to talk about, how drawing, like to get better at drawing and use the different maybe tech, could do it on the iPad, could go back to old school, sketchpad and a pencil. But I mean, it's just about creativity in general, how it makes it make you feel better. That's why I want to express myself on this channel. And, some would say maybe like you're going not niche enough. I don't know. The whole niche argument is like gets on your nerves a little bit. But I have to explore this. I have to stay consistent at this. And within a year, if I feel like it's not paying off, or it's not working, then I might have to relook at it. But what have I got to lose? Nothing, you know. On that note, I think I will leave it there. Thanks, whoever's watching. But this is why, you know, we have to keep showing up, practice talking on camera, and eventually we'll get better at it. And use the time you've got. You know, like I said, I don't have much, but I've got a quick 10-15 minutes now. We'll quickly make this video. There'll be either no edits or very minimal, like it's just me talking. And if you're listening, drop a comment, you know, tell me your thoughts, because I'd love to know them. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one.